Welcome to Yin and Young. The following is a story taken from Chapter 3. I have called it A Myth for the Night. I hope you enjoy it. Yinlin, why are you still up? Her mother demanded. Yinlin was avoiding going to her bed. Why not come here and I'll tell you a story, her father said. Then you can go to bed. Yinlin's father was a natural storyteller, and this was a significant talent in days when there were no TVs or radios. Yinlin excitedly climbed up next to her father. I'm going to tell you a story called The Golden Fish and the Fisherman, he began. It's a Russian story. There once was a fisherman. Each day the fisherman would go out, and usually he came home with enough to eat for him and his wife. But sometimes he returned with nothing. They rarely had extra to trade with neighbors. Yinlin put her hand on her father's leg and leaned into him. However, for a few days the fisherman was not having any luck. All he got were small fish or nothing at all. The fisherman was worried because he was a responsible man and didn't want to come home again with nothing. Finally, a fish took the bait. But as it was being pulled to shore, the farmer could see something very shiny in the water. When he finally pulled it out, he discovered a strange thing. He caught a crab? His daughter asked. No, Yinlin. He caught a fish, but the fish was golden. Golden? Yes, like the color of the letters on your red pocket, very shiny, very beautiful. But the more shocking thing was that the fish could talk. A talking fish, Yinlin repeated to herself. Like a kitten, Yinlin pawed at her father's leg, lost in the dream of the story her father told. What did he say? Yinlin asked, without lifting her head from her father's side. The fish said, Please, fisherman, let me go, and I will fulfill every need you have. Whenever you want anything, just come to the water and call, Fish, 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 3 times, and I will come and answer your call. The fisherman was so astounded by events that he had to believe what he was told, and without delay he returned the fish to his watery home. The fish floated there for a moment, twitched, and was gone. The fisherman sat down and pondered what just happened. That fish was not only golden, it was big, and would have been enough for several meals. What caused him to return it to the water? Was he dreaming? Why did he do it? The sun was setting and darkness was spreading. The fisherman was about to return home once again with nothing to show. Then, as the fisherman recalled to his mind what the fish said, he looked out into the blackening water. Fish, fish, he whispered. He didn't call 3 times, Yinlin said. He's supposed to call 3 times. That's right, Yinlin. Very good. Because he didn't call 3 times, all the fisherman saw was the dark water flashing in little waves in front of him. Fish, 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 he called again, a bit louder. I am so stupid, he thought. What was I thinking? He picked up his rod and line, grabbed his fish basket, and turning one last time to the water, he saw something flash. The golden fish returned and swam to the surface. Hello, fisherman. What can I do for you? The fisherman was not familiar with the procedure, and he was not sure what to say. How do you talk to a fish? And what should he ask for? So he began to explain to the fish what his situation was. I've been fishing for days now, and you're the only good fish I caught. When I go home, we're not going to have anything to eat. It's my job to catch fish, and I'm going home tonight with nothing in my basket. How can I help you, fisherman? the fish asked. "Ask, and it will be done for you." There was silence as the fisherman thought a moment. "I want to have some fish to bring to my wife." Then, after a second thought, "Enough to have a bit extra for breakfast." "Okay, you go back," the fish replied. Oh. He still didn't know what was going on, but he grabbed his rod and basket and headed back home to their grass house. The fisherman again wondered. Was his hunger causing him to imagine things? What was going on? He came through the door and dropped his things and went to wash. As he did so, his wife greeted him and went to the fish basket. "Did you bring anything today?" she asked him. As she asked, he replied, "No, but I did catch a golden fish." She wasn't listening. Instead, she began to pull the fish out of the basket. The fisherman turned and gasped. "Do you understand, Yinlin? There were fish in the basket." "Right." The fisherman saw the fish and said, "It's real." "What are you talking about?" his wife said. "You always talk nonsense," she said, as she prepared the fish for cooking. When the man and his wife sat down to eat, the fisherman explained what happened. He told her how strange it all was, and he even hardly believed it until he saw the fish in the basket. "You're so stupid," she said to him. "That fish said it will give you anything you desire, and you asked for enough fish to eat for dinner and breakfast?" The fisherman swallowed his food, then looked at his wife. "Look around you. Are you happy with this poor house? You should have asked for a brick house." She got up angrily and left him sitting there to think about it. Then returning back to him, she stood there and said, "Tomorrow, when you go out, you call that fish again. If it comes back, you ask for a brick house. I'm so tired of this grass house. So stupid," she said, and then disappeared again. The next day the fisherman returned to the water. "Fish, fish, fish," he called. Again the fish returned and asked him, "What do you want?" The fisherman replied, "My wife wants a house with brick." "Okay, you go back. It's done," the fish replied, and then disappeared back into the water. The fisherman continued fishing and returned at the end of the day. Wah! In the place where their old grass house used to be was now a brick house. The wife was so happy. "Come, come, come," she said. "Look!" She showed her husband around the inside. It was clean and strong, but still small. After several days, while eating dinner, the wife said, "Oh, you stupid. We can ask for a better house, bigger." So the fisherman went and asked the fish again. And yes, they got a bigger house. Then the wife said, "We want a big house with servants and a full pantry, lots and lots." This happened more and more. Each day or week the wife would think of something more and then send the husband to go get it. And each day or week the husband got more and more reluctant to ask, and the fish demonstrated sympathy to the fisherman. Eventually the wife said, "I want a palace. I want to be queen." So the man asked. Then the fish sighed and said, "Okay, you go back." So the old man went back, and the old lady became the queen and lived in the palace. And it's very grand, very beautiful. But the old lady didn't stop. She said, "You stupid man, go back for her. I want the golden fish to be the servant of me." You see, Yinlin, actually the wife didn't like that the man had power over the fish. She wanted the power. So the fisherman went back. This time the fisherman called out, "Fish, fish, fish." He didn't call with much enthusiasm. In fact, he was sad. He wasn't sure how he was going to ask the fish for this request. When the fish appeared, the fish said, "What can I do for you?" The man looked down and said in a quiet voice, "She wants you to be her servant." The fish said, "Okay, you go back. It's done. Thank you again for preserving my life." And the fish swam away. The man thought about it. The fish never ended by saying thank you like that. This time was different. Why did the fish thank him? So the man went back and looked at his old lady. She was living in the straw house again. Everything returned to what it was before. The wife was in the door shouting from far away. "You stupid man!" she cried, sobbing. "What did you do?" Then the man understood the fish said goodbye to him finally, and the wife and the man learned their lessons. It was done. By the time the story was finished, Yinlin had stopped kneading her father's leg and grew very quiet. "Okay, off to bed, Yinlin." Yinlin fell asleep with the golden fish in her mind. And as she slept, she had a dream. In the dream, she was the fisherman, but the fish she pulled out of the water was black and slimy and had red eyes. "You ugly," Yinlin said. It was also a talking fish, and the fish sounded mean. "What is your plan?" the fish asked. "Do you dare to eat me?" Its voice sounded like an echo from deep inside a well. Yinlin replied, "I don't need to eat you. We're very rich." And, after a pause, added quickly, "My dad's a military officer," hoping to scare the fish. "And what about your mother? Does she dare to eat me?" the fish asked. Yinlin's skin crawled, and she hurried to take the fish off the hook, but as soon as she touched the fish, it seemed to cast a spell on Yinlin. In her dream, Yinlin was no longer holding the fish, but was floating above her bed. She could see herself there, but her bed was immersed and blended into a dark pool of water, where she lay on her side submerged, neither breathing nor requiring air. In the shadows of the water, the black fish circled around her. As it got closer and closer, the fish called in an echoing whisper, "Yinlin, do you dare? Yinlin, do you dare? Yinlin, do you dare?" it asked, repeating again and again. "I don't need you," Yinlin shouted back in tears. But the fish came closer and closer, repeating in its hypnotic tone, "Do you dare?" Then slowly drifting around to a position just in front of her, the fish paused. At that moment, that very instant, several things happened all at once. With a flick of its fin, the fish launched itself into her belly as everything turned black. Yinlin, who was again herself, no longer floating above the scene, felt the intrusion of the fish. It was in her belly, curling into a ball, causing Yinlin to believe the dark invader would eat her from the inside. And also, at that very moment of penetration and realization, Yinlin woke with what in the dream was a scream, but in reality a muffled gasp. All was dark around her. Her heart was beating. She couldn't see anything. She was comforted to realize that her grandmother was there sleeping beside her, and she pushed her back up against her grandmother's side. Curling her body, she held her tummy, and once again fell asleep, this time dreamless, floating down, down into the dark, deep